The Southern Ocean is a ring of cold water. It is a sea that circles the world. It is the only ocean that flows without end. It never touches land. It just keeps moving. This ocean is a slow great belt around Antarctica. It carries water across the bottom of the planet. The water here is old. It is far older than our cities. It is older than our oldest stories. It holds the secrets of deep time within its cold, dark currents. This place is not measured in years, but in ages. It is a keeper of the Earth's long memory. Look out at the water. Let your gaze travel across its surface, a dark mirror reflecting a sky of muted grey. This is not just any ocean. It is the Southern Ocean, a liquid continent encircling the pole, a realm that exists at the very edge of the known world. To stand here is to stand at a threshold, a boundary between the familiar and the profoundly alien. The air itself feels different, ancient and unbreathed. It carries a weight, a sense of immense history that presses in from all sides. You're looking at a place that has remained largely unchanged for millennia, a testament to forces that operate on a scale far beyond human experience. The water before you has travelled from the deep past, a witness to the slow, inexorable march of geological time. The wind is sharp and clean. It is a constant sculptor, a tireless artist shaping this world of ice and stone. It carries no scent of soil, no hint of vegetation, only the pure, sterile cold of the ice. This is the katabatic wind, born in the high, frozen heart of the continent. It is gravity's breath, a river of dense, cold air flowing down from the polar plateau, accelerating as it descends, until it pours over the coastline in a relentless torrent. You can hear it, a low, persistent hum that seems to emanate from the ice itself, a sound that is both a whisper and a roar. It scours the surface, polishing the ice to a glassy sheen in one place and carving intricate razor-sharp ridges called sastrugi in another. It is the voice of this landscape, a voice that speaks of immense power and perpetual motion. It feels like a voice echoing in a vast cathedral of ice. The comparison feels apt, for there is a sacred quality to this emptiness, a sense of reverence inspired by the sheer, overwhelming scale. The light filters through the ice, creating spaces that feel holy, with vaulted ceilings of compressed snow and pillars of ancient blue ice. In these hidden grottos and crevasses, the outside world falls away, and the only sound is the faint internal groaning of the glacier, the sound of time itself being stretched and compressed. The ice itself rises high above. It is not a mountain of rock, but a cliff of frozen history. It meets the sky in a jagged, serrated line, a fortress wall defending a continent of secrets. This is the terminus of a glacier that has travelled for thousands of years, a slow-motion river carrying the weight of ages to the sea. Its face is a sheer precipice, hundreds of feet high, a vertical world of impossible architecture. To look up its face is to feel a sense of vertigo, a dizzying recognition of its magnitude. It seems not to be part of the earth, but something that has descended upon it. It is a wall of white and blue. The white is the newer snow, the fresh surface that reflects the pale light. But the blue is the soul of the ice. It is the colour of time, of immense pressure. This is the light that has travelled deep into the glacier, its red and yellow wavelengths absorbed over its long journey, leaving only the deepest, most resonant blue to be reflected back. Each layer, each striation in the ice face is a page in a diary, recording ancient snowfalls, volcanic ash from distant eruptions, and trapped bubbles of air from atmospheres long past. It is a library of climate, a frozen archive holding the memory of the planet. It seems to consume the weak sunlight. Here, the sun hangs low in the sky, its power diminished by the long journey through the atmosphere. The light is thin, ethereal, lacking the warmth we associate with it. It does not warm the ice. Instead, the ice seems to absorb its brilliance, drawing the light into its crystalline depths. The surface glitters with a cold fire, a million tiny points of reflection, but the great mass of the ice wall remains shadowed, its blue heart glowing with a light that seems to come from within. The landscape is a study in chiaroscuro, a play of brilliant whites, deep blues, and profound shadows. The sea below is a deep, dark black. It is a liquid abyss, so cold and dense that it appears almost solid. Its darkness is absolute, a void that swallows light and gives nothing back. This is the source of the cold that defines this place, a vast reservoir of near-freezing water that dictates the climate of the entire planet. Its surface is often calm, a polished obsidian floor, but this stillness is deceptive. Below lies a world of unimaginable pressure and perpetual darkness, a realm more alien than the surface of the moon. It shows only a small silver strip of light on the horizon. The horizon here is not a simple line. It is a destination, a concept. It is the place where the dark sea and the pale sky meet, a boundary that feels both infinitely distant and tantalizingly close. That sliver of light is a promise of a world beyond this one, a reminder of the sun, of warmth, of life. But it is a fragile light, a fleeting gleam that only serves to emphasize the vastness of the surrounding dark. It is the defining feature of this minimalist world, the single stroke of a brush on an immense empty canvas. This place is quiet. It is a silence that is not merely an absence of noise, but a presence in itself. It is a deep, resonant quiet that fills the space between the gusts of wind. It is the silence of deep time, of a world without clocks or calendars. In this quiet, you begin to hear things you would otherwise miss. The faint hiss of snow crystals skittering across the ice, the distant percussive crack of a calving glacier, the sound of your own breathing, loud and intrusive in the immense stillness. It is immensely big. The scale is difficult to process. The mind struggles to find a reference point. That iceberg in the distance, which appears no bigger than a house, is in reality the size of a city block. The ice cliff that seems a stone's throw away is miles across the water. The concepts of near and far lose their meaning. The landscape defies perspective, its sheer size flattening the world into a series of immense, overlapping plains of white, blue and black. It makes the heart slow its beat. There is a physiological response to this environment. The profound cold, the thin air, the overwhelming scale, it all conspires to slow you down. Your movements become more deliberate, your thoughts become clearer, stripped of distraction. Your own internal rhythm begins to attune to the slow, geological pulse of the continent. It is a forced meditation, a state of heightened awareness brought on by the sheer presence of the place. You feel very small here. It is not a frightening smallness, but a humbling one. All the ambitions, the worries, the constructs of human life, they simply evaporate in the face of this immensity. You are reduced to a single point of consciousness, a pair of eyes witnessing a scene of sublime and indifferent grandeur. Your own existence feels fleeting, a brief spark against the backdrop of eternity. This feeling of insignificance is not diminishing, it is clarifying. It puts everything in its proper place. You feel like a visitor in a world that was not made for you. This is a realm governed by ice and wind, by pressure and cold. It is not hostile, but it is utterly indifferent to your presence. It existed long before you arrived, and it will continue long after you are gone. To be here is to be a guest in a house of gods, to walk through a landscape that operates on principles that are not human. You are an observer, a transient presence in a world of permanence. This ocean is a place of profound silence. When the wind finally ceases, the quiet that descends is absolute. It is a silence so deep it feels physical, a pressure on the eardrums. It is the silence of the cosmos, broken only by the faint, ghostly light of the aurora australis, painting the night sky in curtains of green and violet, a silent celestial ballet performed for an audience of ice and stars. Yet it is never truly still. The silence is a mask for constant, powerful change. The ice groans and shifts. Glaciers flow, rivers of ice moving imperceptibly until a moment of sudden catastrophic release. A section of the ice wall, weighing millions of tons, succumbs to gravity and calves into the sea with a sound like thunder, a violent birth that sends shockwaves through the water and the air. The world here is in a state of slow, perpetual becoming, a dynamic balance between creation and destruction, at the very edge of the known world. Listen. In the profound quiet of the Antarctic, there are sounds that do not belong to our world of hurried moments. You hear the groan of shifting ice. It is not a sound of sudden fracture, but a deep, resonant complaint from a body of unimaginable mass. It is the sound of pressure, of weight, of a slow, inexorable surrender to gravity. Each pop and crackle is a syllable in a language spoken over eons, a testament to the immense strain held within these frozen rivers. The ice is alive, not with the quick pulse of biology, but with the slow, powerful life of geology itself. It speaks of its own immense history, a story of snowfall compressing over millennia, of air trapped from ancient atmospheres, of a journey from the heart of the continent to its final dissolution in the sea. And beneath that grinding tenor, another voice emerges from the depths. You hear the deep call of a distant whale. It is a sound that travels for hundreds of miles through the cold, dense water, a mournful, solitary note in the vast, liquid cathedral of the Southern Ocean. This song is not for us. It is a communication across a scale we can barely comprehend, a thread of life woven through the crushing pressure and the abyssal dark. It speaks of a different kind of time, a biological rhythm tuned not to the sun and moon, but to the slow seasonal pulse of the ice and the deep, patient turn of the currents. It is a reminder that even here, in this world of elemental forces, life endures, adapting its own clock to the planet's grander, slower cadence. The movement is slow, almost imperceptible. An iceberg the size of a city drifts on the horizon, and to our eyes it is a static monument. We watch for minutes, for an hour, and see nothing. But it is moving. It is charting a course dictated by forces we cannot see, a silent pilgrim on a journey that may last for years. Its motion is a paradox. A colossal object weighing billions of tons is carried along with the gentle insistence of the water beneath it. This is the pace of Antarctica. It does not hurry. It does not yield to our expectations of speed. It simply proceeds, a force of nature operating on a schedule that dwarfs our own fleeting attention spans. To witness this is to learn a new kind of patience, to understand that the most profound changes are often the ones that happen too slowly for a single lifetime to register. Great currents turn over immense distances. These are not rivers as we know them, but entire oceans in motion. The Antarctic circumpolar current, a planetary heartbeat, circles the continent with a volume 100 times greater than all the world's rivers combined. It is a colossal engine of salt and temperature, a thermal barrier that isolates Antarctica and preserves its profound cold. Its movement is a slow planetary waltz, a gyre that has been turning for millions of years. It is the master of this realm, the unseen choreographer that dictates the climate of the entire globe and guides the slow, majestic procession of the ice. Icebergs drift at a pace you cannot see. They are castaways from the great ice shelves, fragments of the continent set free into the ocean. Each one is a unique sculpture, carved first by the pressure of its own formation, and then by the relentless artistry of wind and water. They are temporary islands of fresh water in a saline world, carrying with them the memory of the land. Their journey is a slow-motion dissolution, a return to the water from which they were born. We see them as objects, but they are processes. They are time made visible, moving archives of climate and geology, and their silent, stately drift is a physical manifestation of the planet's own deliberate, unhurried rhythm. The entire continent seems to breathe, but it does so over centuries. In winter, the sea ice expands, doubling Antarctica's size in a great frozen exhalation. In summer, it retreats, an icy inhalation. The ice sheet itself, the permanent cap of white, flows outward from the high interior plateau, a movement measured in meters per year. It is a slow-motion explosion, held in check by its own colossal mass. This continental respiration, this glacial flow, is the true pulse of the South. It is a rhythm so slow that it becomes a constant, a state of being rather than an event. It is the breath of a sleeping giant whose dreams are of ice ages and shifting poles. Time here is not our time. Our lives are measured in days and years, marked by the frantic ticking of a clock. Here, time is measured in layers of ice, in the slow drift of continents, in the patient weathering of mountains by wind and frost. It is a time scale that humbles our sense of importance. The air trapped in these ice bubbles is a breath from 1,000 years ago, a physical piece of the past. The layers beneath tell stories of volcanic eruptions, of ancient droughts, of shifts in the Earth's own orbit. This is not history as we write it in books. It is history as the planet records it, in an archive of frozen water 3 kilometers deep. It is a geological clock, ticking with the weight of millennia. Each layer of snow that falls on the high plateau is a new tick, a moment that is buried and compressed, joining an unbroken record stretching back almost 1,000,000 years. This clock does not measure seconds, it measures epochs. Its hands are the great ice streams, its pendulum the slow oscillation between glacial and interglacial periods. To read this clock is to look backward into a different world, a planet with a different climate, a different atmosphere. It is the ultimate measure of change, a baseline against which we can gauge our own fleeting, frantic moment. It reminds us that we are not the masters of time, but merely its most recent and perhaps most disruptive passengers. The slow, constant motion is a powerful force, shaping everything it touches. The glacier carves a valley from solid rock, not with violence, but with persistence. The current scours the seabed, moving mountains of sediment over thousands of years. The iceberg, melting, releases nutrients that have been locked away for an age, seeding life in the water around it. This is the power of patience, the force of inevitability. In this landscape, speed is a sign of weakness, of a brief and frantic existence. True power lies in the slow, the steady, the relentless. It is a force that builds and destroys on a scale that defies our imagination. A creative and destructive energy that operates beyond the limits of our perception, shaping the very bones of the world. We are at the edge of the known world. This is the terminus, the great wall of ice, where a continent ends and the world ocean begins. It is a place of endings and beginnings. Here, the slow journey of the ice reaches its dramatic conclusion, a final, thunderous carving into the sea. And here, the water that will travel the globe begins its journey, cooled and freshened by its encounter with the ice. Standing here is like standing on the shore of another planet, a world governed by rules we are only just beginning to understand. The air is so pure it feels empty, the silence so complete it feels like a presence. We are intruders in a realm of giants, temporary observers of a drama that has been unfolding since long before we existed, and will continue long after we are gone. This is a frontier not of land. Land suggests soil, growth, a place to put down roots. There is no soil here, only rock and ice. This is a frontier of time itself, a place where the past is physically present, and the future is written in the slow decay of the ice shelves. It is a boundary between the human scale and the planetary scale. To cross it is to leave behind the familiar metrics of our lives and enter a state of profound humility. The horizon is a perfect empty line, a demarcation between the tangible and the infinite. It offers no comfort, no destination, only a stark reminder of our own smallness in the face of such elemental purity. This is a frontier of ice. More than 90% of the world's ice is here, a reservoir of frozen time. It is a landscape of absolutes. Its white is not a colour, but the reflection of all colours, a blinding purity that erases detail and confounds perspective. Its texture, sculpted by the unceasing katabatic winds, is a record of relentless force. This ice is a paradox. It is a solid, yet it flows like a liquid. It is a desert, yet it holds most of the world's fresh water. It is a static, unchanging monolith that is in reality in a constant state of slow, powerful flux. This is a frontier of water. Water in all its forms dictates the terms of existence here. As a solid, it forms the continent itself. As a liquid, it surrounds it, isolating it, carrying its influence across the globe. As a gas, it is almost entirely absent, creating the driest air on Earth. The dark leads of open water that slice through the sea ice are wounds in the frozen skin of the ocean, revealing the black, nutrient-rich depths below. They are lifelines in the winter, places where seals and whales can surface to breathe, temporary oases in the expanding ice desert. This constant transformation between states, solid, liquid, gas, is the engine of this world, a cycle of freezing and melting that moves with the slow, deliberate pulse of the planet. It is a place of cold, stark beauty, a beauty that does not seek to charm or welcome, but simply is. It is the beauty of fundamental physics made visible, the curve of the Earth, the refraction of light through ice crystals, the magnetic fields of the planet revealed as a celestial aurora. It is a beauty of scale, of silence, of purity. It asks nothing of us except that we witness it. In its presence, our own concerns, our own sense of time, dissolve. We are left with the profound, humbling realization that we are standing in a place where the Earth's oldest and most powerful forces are still at work, moving at a pace that is, and always will be, their own. The colours are simple: white, black, the piercing blue of ancient ice. Here the planet shows its raw power: wind, cold, pressure. They demand respect. They command a sense of awe. This is the last great wilderness. It is a realm where nature remains the undisputed ruler. To be here is to understand the true scale of our planet and our own small place within it. It is really something to behold. The Antarctic circumpolar current flows here. It is a river within the ocean. It is the strongest and largest current on Earth. It runs forever eastward, circling the pole without obstruction. It moves more water than all the world's rivers combined. This current is a great, slow conveyor belt. It carries cold water, the tiny life within it. It also distributes heat salt around the globe. It is the engine of our planet's climate. The weather patterns of distant continents are born in the churn of these waters. Ships, even the great whales, feel its immense and relentless power. This current is also a barrier. Beneath the vast white sheet of ice that blankets the Antarctic continent, the world as we know it ends, and another, far more ancient and mysterious, begins. The transition is not gradual. It is absolute. To cross this threshold is to leave behind the familiar physics of air and light, and to enter a realm governed by water, pressure, and profound, enduring darkness. Here, beneath a ceiling of frozen ocean hundreds, sometimes thousands of feet thick, lies a world hidden in plain sight, a liquid universe cradled within the ice. The light that manages to penetrate this immense barrier is transformed, stripped of its warmth and its harsher frequencies. What remains is a spectral, ethereal blue, the last ghost of the sun, painting the under-ice caverns in hues of sapphire and twilight. This is not merely a place, it is a separate state of being, a world held in stasis, waiting. The surface is a landscape of blinding brightness, a world of horizontal infinities. The sheer, unmitigated whiteness reflects nearly all the light that strikes it, creating an environment of stark, almost painful clarity. It is a world defined by the sky and the ice, a two-dimensional plane where distance is an illusion and the horizon is a razor's edge. The wind, the only true sculptor here, carves the snow into waves and ridges, a frozen ocean of sastrugi that stretches for uninterrupted miles. This is a place of extremes, of overwhelming presence, where the sheer scale of the landscape can feel like a physical force. But this brilliant, wind-scoured desert is only a veil. It is the stark, simple cover of a book whose pages are deep, complex, and written in a language of immense pressure and cold. Below, the light quickly fades. With every foot of descent, the water acts as a filter, absorbing the energy of the sun. The vibrant blues near the surface give way to a deep, solemn indigo, then to a murky grey, and finally to a blackness that is total and uncompromising. This is not the absence of light, it is the presence of the deep. The journey downward is a journey away from the sun, away from the rhythms of day and night that govern all life on the surface. Here, time is measured not by the turning of the earth, but by the slow, patient drift of currents and the even slower pulse of life adapted to an eternal midnight. Looking up from these depths, the ice ceiling is a distant, shimmering memory of another world, a silvered sky that seems as remote and unattainable as the stars. The ocean floor falls away into black, silent trenches. These are not mere valleys. They are chasms in the Earth's crust, some of the deepest points on our planet, hidden beneath the coldest waters. Here, the geology of the world is laid bare in its most dramatic form. Tectonic plates grind against one another, pulling the seafloor down into the mantle. These trenches are the planet's scars, places of immense geological power and profound stillness. Their scale is difficult to comprehend. A trench can be thousands of miles long and over 6 miles deep, a feature far grander than any canyon on land. We have mapped their contours with sound waves, painting pictures of their staggering topography in the dark. But our physical presence in these abysses has been fleeting, limited to the brief visits of robotic explorers. The continental shelf, the submerged fringe of Antarctica itself, eventually gives way. It drops off into abyssal plains. These are the great prairies of the deep ocean, vast flat expanses of sediment that stretch for hundreds of miles. They appear featureless, a monotonous landscape of mud and ooze, but this apparent simplicity is deceptive. This sediment is a library of Earth's history, built layer by layer over millions of years from the slow rain of marine snow, the remains of microscopic organisms from the waters far above. Each layer holds clues to past climates, ancient ocean currents, and the very evolution of life. To traverse the abyssal plain is to travel across a landscape formed by time itself, a quiet, patient accumulation of life and death. From these plains, the seafloor descends again into deep canyons that no human has ever seen with their own eyes. Carved by ancient, powerful turbidity currents, underwater avalanches of sediment and water, these canyons rival the Grand Canyon in scale and complexity. They are conduits, funneling cold, dense water from the Antarctic shelf into the global ocean, acting as vital arteries in the planet's circulatory system. They are worlds within worlds, with their own microclimates and ecosystems. Their steep walls create a vertical landscape in the dark, providing a different kind of habitat from the flat plains. Exploring them, even with our robotic proxies, feels like stepping onto another planet, a place whose rules and history are entirely its own. Some of these trenches are places of absolute cold and stillness. The water temperature hovers just below freezing, kept liquid only by salinity and immense pressure. The currents are almost imperceptible, sometimes moving only inches per hour. In this profound quiet, the only visible movement is the constant, gentle fall of marine snow. It is a silent, eternal snowfall that sustains the sparse communities of life below. This stillness is not emptiness. It is a state of equilibrium, a deep peace born of immense weight and isolation. It is a silence that is ancient, a quiet that has held for millennia, disturbed only by the slow geological breathing of the planet and the faintest whispers of life. Their dark walls are steep and unforgiving. Composed of basaltic rock from the planet's mantle and compacted ancient ice, they absorb all light, reflecting nothing. The beams of a submersible are swallowed by the sheer blackness of the rock, creating a sense of being suspended in an infinite void. These walls are not just geological features, they are boundaries. They define the edges of this hidden world, containing its immense pressure and its profound cold. They are a testament to the raw power of the planet, a stark reminder that even in the most remote corners of the Earth, there are forces at play that dwarf human experience and understanding. The pressure here is immense. At these depths, the weight of the water column above exerts a force that is almost beyond imagination, over 1,000 times the atmospheric pressure at sea level. It is a pressure equivalent to having 50 jumbo jets stacked on a single square inch. This force fundamentally alters the properties of the environment. It compresses the water, changes the way chemical reactions occur, and dictates the very shape and function of life. It is the single most dominant physical parameter of this world, a constant, crushing embrace that has shaped every living thing that calls this abyss home. It would crush any human vessel not built for it. A standard submarine would implode in an instant. Only the most specialized craft, with hulls of thickened titanium and pressure-neutral designs, can survive the journey. Our instruments, our robotic eyes and hands, are marvels of engineering, yet they appear fragile and small against the backdrop of this overwhelming environment. They are our emissaries to a realm we can never inhabit, extensions of our curiosity sent down into a world where our own biology is an impossible weakness. Each piece of data, each image they send back, is a hard-won prize from a place that is fundamentally hostile to our existence. And yet, there is life here. It moves with a slow, deliberate grace, adapted to the weight of the water above. In the absence of skeletons that would be crushed, creatures have evolved gelatinous bodies composed almost entirely of water. Their internal pressure perfectly matches the external, and so they feel nothing of the crushing force that would destroy us. Their metabolism is incredibly slow, a necessity in a world where food is scarce and energy must be conserved over decades, even centuries. This is not the frantic competitive life of the sunlit reefs. This is life pared down to its essence, a testament to resilience and adaptation. It is a slow ballet in the dark, a form of existence that finds its strength not in fighting the environment, but in yielding to it completely. But the secrets of Antarctica are not confined to the deep ocean. Under the ice shelf, sealed beneath miles of solid ice, there are also hidden lakes. These are not frozen bodies of water, but vast reservoirs of liquid kept from freezing by the insulating blanket of the ice above and the subtle geothermal heat from the earth below. For hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions of years, these lakes have been completely isolated from the outside world. Pristine ecosystems untouched by the planet's changing climate and atmosphere. They are time capsules, holding water that has not seen the sun or felt the wind for geological ages. Discovering them was like finding a new ocean on our own planet. These are not small ponds. They are vast inland seas, hidden from view. The largest of them, Lake Vostok, is one of the biggest lakes on the planet, a body of water comparable in surface area to Lake Ontario, but buried under 2.5 miles of ice. Over 400 such lakes have been identified, connected by a network of rivers and streams that flow in total darkness at the base of the ice sheet. This subglacial plumbing system lubricates the flow of the ice above, influencing the movement of the entire Antarctic ice sheet in ways we are only just beginning to understand. Some are as large as the Great Lakes of North America, yet they remain almost entirely unexplored. To study them, scientists must drill through miles of ice with painstaking care, using sterilized equipment to avoid contaminating these unique ancient environments. The technical challenges are immense, but the potential rewards are extraordinary. These lakes may harbor microbial life forms that have evolved in complete isolation for eons, organisms that derive their energy not from sunlight, but from the chemical reactions with the minerals in the rocks below. They could redefine our understanding of the limits of life, not just on Earth, but across the cosmos. They have been sealed off from the world for millions of years. In their dark, still waters, time itself seems to have slowed. The water within them may be hundreds of thousands of years old, a liquid fossil. The life that may exist there could be a window into a past biological world, a lineage of organisms that parted ways with the rest of Earth's life long before the rise of humanity. These hidden worlds, in the deep ocean trenches and beneath the continental ice, challenge our perception of our own planet. They remind us that even in the 21st century, the age of satellites and global connectivity, Earth is still a place of profound mystery, with entire realms waiting to be discovered, hidden just beyond the edge of our sight. Under the ice, daylight becomes a memory. Blue light seeps through a ceiling of frozen ocean, and the world moves at the pace of cold. Here, life endures. Snow falls in the sea. Not from clouds, but from life. Tiny particles drifting down in endless patient flurries, feeding the dark. In the blue gloom, krill rise in columns as tall as cities. Their small, translucent bodies sift the water, grazing on the smallest plants the ocean can grow. At night, some glow. A soft phosphorescence winks into being, signals in the dark, a language of light in a world without sun. Krill are the foundation here. Penguins, seals and whales are built on their abundance. The food web resting on creatures no longer than a finger. On the ice above, emperor penguins stand like quiet monarchs against the wind, a living constellation on a white horizon. They huddle to share heat. Chicks press into the shelter of their parents, each heartbeat a small act of survival. Then they dive. Their bodies become arrows in the cold, slipping under the ice with the quiet confidence of perfect design. Bubble trails sketch their path. Feathers lie sleek against the body, reducing drag. Oxygen is stored in blood and muscle, not lungs. Adelie penguins porpoise through leads in the pack ice, breathing in flight, stitching the air and water into one motion. At the ice edge, life concentrates. Krill bloom, birds wheel, and the sea becomes a moving feast. A Weddell seal surfaces to breathe at a hole kept open by memory and persistence. Its whiskers, reading the water like fingertips, read a page. Below, it glides along the under-ice roof, hearing with its whole body, storing oxygen in muscle, heart rate slowed to a quiet drum. In this world, a long breath is a form of wisdom. Minutes stretch into the depths. The sea grants passage to the patient. The leopard seal is a shadow beneath the ice, a swift, silent line. It hunts with precision, a master of ambush and speed. Craybeater seals hold a different key. Their teeth are sieves, delicate combs that filter krill from the water with every pull of the jaw. Farther out, a pod of orcas works the ice floes, moving like a single mind. They test edges, probe gaps, and coordinate the chase. Humpbacks gather over krill. Circles of bubbles rise like silver ropes, corralling the swarm into a brief, living storm. Then they surge through the net, mouths aglow with seawater and light. The ocean closes and quiet returns. A minke slips along the ice edge, a dark line in a dark sea. A blue whale passes like a moving horizon, measured in heartbeats. Their journeys follow the ice, arriving when the blooms begin, departing as the light fades. Migration is a conversation with the seasons. On the seafloor, an Antarctic toothfish hovers above the dark plain, a slow, patient hunter in the lightless cold. Icefish move with glassy grace. Their blood carries no hemoglobin. Antifreeze proteins keep their fluids from turning to crystal. In the water column, great jellyfish drift like lanterns. Comb jellies comb the dark with prismatic ribs, quiet as falling snow. Amphipods swarm in flickering clouds. Copepods pulse through the blue like living seeds, small engines of the polar sea. On the bottom, sea spiders tiptoe through forests of brittle stars. A slow choreography drawn by current and chance. Tiny sea butterflies, pteropods, flutter with glass shells. Their fragility belies their role, linking sunlight to muscle and bone. Under the ice, films of microbes paint the ceiling in the ghostly greens and browns, tiny forests feeding on the dim, cold light. Openings in the pack, polynyas, are winter lungs for the sea. Steam rises. Satellites watch them bloom like ink in cold water. When the light returns, the ice edge erupts with life. Phytoplankton thicken the water, and krill rise to meet them. Energy flows upward, microscopic plants to krill, krill to birds, seals, whales, the entire sea moving to a single slow rhythm. Seasons breathe the continent in and out. Winter spreads the ice, summer draws it back. Life rides that tide, patient and precise. Around it all, a river of ocean flows, the great circumpolar current, carrying cold, carrying salt, carrying life from one edge of the world to the other. Night returns. Above the pack, curtains of green and violet move without sound. The sky remembers the sun and writes its memory in light. Below, the under-ice ceiling shimmers like a distant sky. In this cathedral of water and time, endurance is not struggle, it is design. And everything here moves to the planet's older, slower cadence.